So David, I'm recording this. A bunch of people who weren't able to make it on the weekend asked if I could record it um, so they could hear it later. And then of course you guys will also be able to listen to it too again if you want to. But if you'd rather I not, David, let me know. Um, if you're okay with me recording, let me know that too. All right, well, it's 2:05. We'll get started. And then if other people join us, great, we'll just add them to the mix. Um, so thank you all for showing up here in this moment, responding to my invitation to learn about the sacred practice of dream work. It's to me, it is that. It's absolutely transformed my life. So much so that I quit my corporate job 5 years ago, and this is all I've done, professionally, is helping people connect with their dreams, literally, and then coaching them based upon what comes up in the dreams to see patterns in their thoughts, feelings, and energy, and where helpful shift those patterns and the way that they're seeing and feeling certain things so that they can come into greater harmony, live a more balanced, peaceful, joyful life. And it turns out that when we are in such a state of being, the world smiles back at us, and it just becomes literally magical. Um, And this is part of what I'll touch upon in today's call, this experience that I call lucid living. Living our life as if it's a dream, as if it's malleable as things are in the lucid dream, where we can change the environment. We learn to do that more and more in the lucid dream. It becomes natural. And then we start to look at our waking dream the same way. And then and everything becomes more flexible. We start to open up to greater and greater possibilities. And we see that literally anything is possible. And we start more consciously creating a dreamlike life that's aligned with our soul's desire and our life purpose. So this is my intention in sharing this work with you on this call and in general. As I noted in the introduction that I sent out, probably in a week or two. I'm not sure just the timing, but I'll probably do a few of these calls before I invite a group to literally dream together for a month. And there's a whole lot to that I'll describe later. You can either choose to participate in that or not. And it's absolutely my intention to give you as much value as I can in this call to help you learn more about dream work and hopefully something that is really useful for you in your life. So, having said that, I'd like to ask you guys before I get started. I always start out my coaching calls and all of my meetings with this question: what's most important to you? There's only, right now there's only the five of us, so we can talk about whatever you want. Um, if any of you want to, chime in and let me know if we look back in an hour and a half from now, you look back and say, yeah, that was time well spent. I got what I was hoping to get out of this call. It was worthwhile. Can any of you give me an idea of what you're hoping to take away from this call?
I can go. Well, I'd say the last like 7 months of my life have been really much more guided, and I've seen how I'm a co-creator of my experience, and it's just kind of like the next step continues to, I get a little hint and I take action, and then it shows me how it's like creating this relationship dynamic. And so yeah, I just like to see how I can incorporate my dreams and go deeper with this ability, or that I've been cultivating over this time. So yeah, just curiosity, and see what else can I add and work with my dreams too, in terms of going deeper with it.
Great. Awesome. Thanks, Amanda. Yeah, and I'm here, what I heard you say is you've been living a life that's more guided. You've been following that guidance, and what I got from that is things are opening up for you. And we spent some time together in Costa Rica, living a pretty amazing, magical life, and I've seen you move forward from that. Living your dream life, and yeah, connecting with that guided, being guided. What is that? What is that guides us? This to me is one of the most, it is I've told potential partners in the past, romantic partners, and I think I'm done with that now, interestingly enough. But because I've in my experience, I already am everything, so there's really nothing to desire. um, but there is this deep, deep love that I have with something. I call it the beloved. There's this something that comes to me in my dreams, and increasingly so in every moment in my life, with a deep connection to what I call intuition. It's the beloved, but it's also intuition. It's the subconscious. It's that whatever that is. I've fallen in love with that, having been so clearly guided, for the last 15 years doing this work. So this is I love that you use that word, Amanda. Being guided. That is one of the main things that this practice has opened up for me. And so many people that I've worked with over the years have shared that one of the main things that they have benefited from, in doing this work, is a sense of connection to something, right? It's like this feeling of, like, I have backup now. There's something other than my thinking mind that I can open up to and I can receive guidance from. And it turns out, as we do this, we receive this amazing guidance over and over again. We learn we can trust this. In fact, I trust it even more than my waking mind. Before I'm about to make a significant life decision, or even insignificant one, like going to the beach, I'll ask that night, is tomorrow going to be a good day to go to the beach? Right? And it will come through in my dreams. It doesn't have to be like super, super profound stuff. So it's a love affair with the divine, a love affair as the divine, that opens up and becomes us, and always was and is us, apparently. Awesome. Thank you, Amanda. Good. Well, I suspect we will fulfill your curiosity over the next hour and a half or so. So that was a long answer. If anyone else wants to chime in, if not, totally okay. I can move on and sort of clarify, or get started with, what I had planned on sharing. You guys anyone else want to share?
Yeah, hey, Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. I'm gonna shut mine off. Is the floor open? Just talk.
I think it is. Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
Yeah, so astral travel is something that I want to be able to do, and I think this will help with that. And then
Yeah.
as a child, like lucid dreaming was easy. I would wake up as a child and fly around in my dream. I would create boats and seas and then ride around on the boats and stuff like that, and just to be able to tap back into that awareness that, oh, I'm dreaming. Now it's like if I fast or something like that, the dreams get really intense and realistic. Um,
Yeah.
or if you're going through like a really intense portal, they get really insane. Um, that, and then I learned that we can make things appear instantly in this reality. And so
Yeah.
to be able to get into that, to be able to reach that deep into spirit realm and
Yeah.
dream it up and then it appear instantly in this dream as well, to be able to
Yeah.
have that talent. Yeah. So anyway, I think that's what I'm thinking or seeing anyway in future vision of from keys that I get from this.
Yeah. Awesome. Awesome. Yeah. And we will, we'll touch on astral travel a bit. There's, as and again, I'm also really excited to learn from you all. I'm sure you did. I was like, gosh, I was blown away in the conversations that we had a while back. I know there's a lot I can learn from you, David. Um, I think that, the detailed steps of astral travel may be best suited for another call. We'll see how the time goes in this intro call. But yeah, that's been a huge part of my life, and the ceremonies that I've participated in, a whole lot of that was working in the spirit world. And so much of the work that I'm doing now is is that in finding myself navigating in the spirit world, interacting with different beings there. So um, yeah, we'll touch upon that. Thank you. And also this other part of what you just shared, which is what I describe as lucid living, this experience. And I have a feeling all you guys get this. I know Flo and I have talked about this. When you raise your vibration high enough to come into coherence, living from the heart, the masculine and feminine energies are balanced, and you find yourself in a state of peace or even joy. Um, you can create whatever it is. For me, it's no longer me creating; it's creation creating in every moment. And as a human being, I get to witness that. And it gets more and more fun. The more of this work that I do, the more purified I am, the more aligned I am in my thoughts, words, and actions. And the more I do some of these practices like mantra, meditation, breath work, kirtan, play, and having fun. Um, Turns out it doesn't have to be hard, and it doesn't have to take long. And there's a whole, we won't get into it this too much. Maybe I'll share an example or two. I'm literally writing a book called The Dream Alchemist, sharing some of these lucid living experiences that I've had all over the world, where things have like literally manifested out of thin air when I was thinking about them, like so much so that I had to really, really integrate it. Like, holy cow, what is happening? Like my world is opening up to where I feel like I'm in a dream in my waking life. Um, cool. All right. Got it. Thank you.
Okay, I'll go. Can you hear me, guys? Yeah.
I hear you great.
Okay. I guess like since I read the first magic book, like years and years ago, I really believed in creating our reality. And about 8 years ago, after doing, all the work I've done, got into Dr. Joe Dispenza, who is a teacher, and been applying those principles you're talking about, which is a clear intention and then an elevated state of emotion, the emotional state being magnetic and the intention and the thought being electric. We create this electromagnetic signature that we send into the field every second, and that's what we get back, right? I'm not a big night dreamer. I still use cannabis and I don't have a lot of dreams and I don't remember them. So it's a little weird for me to even want to go in that class. But as far as the waking reality, what I've manifested in the past 8 years is pretty freaking amazing, like buying a house in California or getting married at 56, and I can go on. I actually teach a class called Diving into Miracles, and it's all about that. So this group interests me because it seems like everybody's on that level where they want to create their waking dream, what they want to experience in this lifetime. And you seem to also be into, joy and creating those elevated states of emotion, which are not always easy to create. And it's not about bypassing, it's more about choosing, do I really want to feel that crappy energy right now? Is it just my thought creating that, or do I want to choose gratefulness and awe at existence and go out and dance and try to create that energy so I can fuel my dreams? So I'm interested in everything. Recently I've been really playing with like straining my eyes up into the top of my head in order to really focus on going into the quantum field instead of being like kidnapped by thoughts if my eyes go right or left. I don't even know if you understand me, but so I'm really fascinated by going into the quantum field, which is source, which is that guidance that you guys are talking about. And just playing with symbols there of what I want to manifest, writing down, making manifestation maps. And yes, it's I can go on forever, but it works. And that's how the world is going to change deeply, having that consciousness that we are co-creators instead of being victims of some kind of God that is punishing, right? So yeah, and just the heart, focusing on the heart while I'm meditating and creating, that's the doorway. I stay most of the time in just thank you, God, thank you, God, thank you, God. Keep it simple. That activates with the gratefulness, and then just putting out the clear intention, and things eventually gel in ways, as you know, that I would have never expected them to manifest, which is so much fun. Thank you for giving us those surprises. I hope I didn't talk too much, but yeah, thank you.
Love it, love it. And I love the mantra that you and I have shared together. How can it get any better than this? Right? Just staying open to even more, more amazingness. Literally a
So,
phenomenal reality, a phenomenal experience. And interestingly, a part of this sacred practice is, it literally is a path to enlightenment. Dream yoga is a really key aspect in Tibetan Buddhism, in particular, many indigenous traditions. One of the main lineages that I've studied over the years, that my teacher trained me in, is this Dzogchen tradition, which is an aspect of Tibetan Buddhism. And it just kind of blew me away at first to see that these monks, men and women monks, for apparently thousands of years, have dedicated their lives to like figuring out what reality is and what to do with their life. So much so that they've like gone away and lived in caves all by themselves, praying and going deep into these worlds, particularly the cave work. They're in a dark cave for an extended period of time so that DMT gets activated automatically in an extended dark retreat. So these monks are tripping, and in these different realms of consciousness in the astral world. and praying for the betterment of all beings, and through this work coming to a deep understanding and connection with self, themselves, the smaller s self, and self, the all
Yeah.
of the all, the Tao, the God, creator, whatever word we use for that. Just it kind of blew me away at first, and I was already deep into my own dream experiences when I formally, was initiated into this work, and given an opportunity to start a formal training, and then seeing that, these monks and these lamas, these real authentic spiritual seekers, find dream work is one of the most important aspects of a true spiritual awakening and a life service.
And just to answer your question earlier, what I'm looking in for the class is just more tools. How do I get even better in theta waves or alpha brain waves, which is really the key? And how do I use my sacred imagination even more? That is God inside of me that allows me to create. So I just more tools to get into that state where the magic happens. So that's basically what I wanted to say. Thank you.
Awesome, Flo, and I think you remember Flo, and you guys might have seen my head jerk up, kind of,
Yeah.
and involuntarily. To your point, uh, even without an active dream life, this is one of the tools I've found a way. This is, several years ago it started happening. I've found a way to literally drop out of the mind instantly, and access what I call source for guidance in the moment. So you don't have to be dreaming. It can happen. You can go to that place, that frequency. It's sort of like a mantra. We chant. You know, I know Flo. You're into mantra, and there's singing kirtan, and there's also japa practice. These saying these or singing these mantras. You say the mantra over and over and over again. And like the Gayatri is my main practice I do every day, usually at night before I go to bed. It's like windshield wipers for the mind. It kind of clears everything before I go into my dream yoga practice. Um, and it turns out that after you've chanted that mantra over and over and over again, you know that frequency, because it evokes a frequency, a state of being, and you learn that you can go there immediately without even chanting the mantra. And so this is it's totally socially awkward when it happens, and thankfully it didn't happen in my corporate life in the boardroom for some reason. And, but I wasn't doing this practice consciously asking. Sometimes it happens even when I don't try. I just get a big hit. It's confirmation. Apparently it's Kundalini energy. I don't know. But even without, for example, if someone is smoking cannabis, it just happens that is one of those things. And I'll do respect to cannabis. Wow, that plant helped me so much when I broke my neck and had years and years of extreme pain. I'm so grateful to that master plant for her healing and all the fun and creativity that she's brought to me. And it does have an effect on our sleep patterns, and apparently short-term memory for most people. So it usually takes 2 to 4 weeks of abstinence of use of cannabis before the dreams start coming through clearly at night. Having said that, that's like everything. Everything is true is also not true. I've had amazing dreams when I was smoking a whole lot every day. Just something really important came up, and I got a clear guidance in a dream, even though I was smoking every single day and had been for a while. So inviting you to consider that, open up to that, maybe even make that intention flow. You know, it has been my experience, and it can absolutely happen. This dream world can open up even when working with that plant. Okay, thank you, Flo. Awesome. Julie, do you have anything to share, or would you like us?
I'll just repeat what Flo said in terms of tools. I've always had, not always, but in the last few years, I've had pretty elaborate dreams that are like, just what was that? And I have dreams every night, and I manifestation has always been like really interesting to me. So the idea of bringing this dreams with manifestation and creating a reality that's like just so much more mind blowing than I could fathom is really what draws me to dream work.
Yeah, beautiful. Great. Thank you. You know, and hearing you say that, it's, for me, it's has been my experience. I say that phrase a lot because I don't know anything. To me, that this is actually paradoxically, this is I think an attribute of awakening is learning that you actually don't know anything, and perhaps that there's not even any you there. That's having the experience. Who knows? Is what I keep coming up with. And yes, we can use this practice to, you know, for magical manifestation, to create what we want in our life, to fulfill the desires that we have, the desires of our heart. And as or more importantly, it has been my experience to seek the guidance from my soul as to what she wants. You know, the mind may think that I want this, that, or the other, and then something will come up in the dream that's totally different, you know, inviting me to go in a different path. So just a little something to share, which is, you know, this may be helpful for some of you, is this letting go of the egoic desire, of the sense that I am creating all of this, and I want this, I want that, and opening up to and receiving and learning what your soul actually came here to do, and what he, she, that is guiding you to in your life. And often what happens is it's even more amazing than, than the mind could have fathomed. So awesome. Thank you, Joy. All right. Wow. Well, small group today. It sounds like all you guys are quite connected. I don't even feel like I need to go too deep into you know, what it takes to catch your dreams. Nonetheless, I think I will. That's a yes. In case it's helpful for any of you guys. Okay, so is it okay for 5 minutes? I'll share some of the key things that that I have done in my own life, and that I recommend to, you know, the people I work with to help those dreams come through consistently and with clarity every night, or at least quite often. So, so the first thing is intention. It's so much of this life and this work is about getting clear about our intention and where we place our attention. So throughout the day, I very often find myself for a couple of seconds, you know, remembering my intention that I'm going to bring into the dream yoga practice in the evening. And then before going to bed, I'll let myself feel that intention, visualize that intention. And for me, I often use prayer before I go to bed. It's a way of speaking those intentions. and something about the word has been my experience that when we say things out loud, our subconscious, or our soul, is listening. And to me, it's seen, and also in many of the the dream yoga books and different teachings that I've I've read over the years. There's the subtle voice, which is what we're thinking, what we're saying to ourselves, and then there's the not so subtle voice, that what we're speaking out loud. And something about the spoken word and its capacity to literally shape our reality and change things physically in our physical reality. Um, it's literally a key component in magical practices. So giving voice to those intentions, in addition to thinking them and feeling them before bed, has been something that's really been helpful for me and a lot of people that I've worked with. So I would say intention, number one, before any sacred practice. I think most of you guys know for many years, I went deep into the plant medicine path, working with ayahuasca specifically. And before those plant medicine ceremonies, you write down your intentions, often say prayers before the ceremony. You drink the medicine, and the medicine brings you into a theta brainwave state. And in that state, or somewhere in between, there's beta, alpha, theta, delta, as you're going slower and slower in the brain waves. And then there's gamma, which is actually faster. And that's a realm that I've been working with more and more lately. Interestingly, and one of my favorite teachers and human beings, who's not in his body right now, but a man named Nikola Tesla, like amazing inventor, invented so many things that have transformed the world. He abstained from any kind of sexual intercourse his whole life. In fact, he didn't even touch people. He wouldn't shake hands with people. And in an interview I listened to from him lately, he said that people that are in divine union with a partner, engaged, in intercourse and conscious lovemaking, can create beautiful music, write books, and create all kinds of wonderful things in the world. And he doesn't know, and this is his words, as I recall, he doesn't know of any really prolific inventors who have not engaged in a sustained practice of celibacy. So again, just sharing what I've learned. It's been my experience, having been absolutely celibate for a period of time. There's something about that, and then working with the cerebral spinal fluid, bringing that up into the brain, and something about that, literally that liquid, that fluid circulating and lubricating the pineal gland, opens up literally whole new worlds. And the more of that fluid, the purer it is, the higher our states of consciousness and access to some of these very, very high frequencies becomes. Again, this has been my experience. All I can say is this is my experience, and it was kind of interesting to hear one of my idols, Nikola Tesla, who invented a whole bunch of stuff, speaking about the importance of working with our sexual energy. So just saying, this is a huge part of the work from my point of view, is not to push it away, but to purify that energy. And you can purify that energy while in partnership with a loving partner. And there is something about at least periods of celibacy that, in my experience, has been just taken things to a whole new level in terms of what's opened up. Yeah, in my life and my practice. All right, so I just talked a lot. Thank you for your patience. So intention is huge. Before you go to bed, feel your intention, perhaps say your intention out loud. Go to bed feeling like you just woke up having received your dreams, like going to bed, like for me, I visualize myself in the morning, like waking up, like I just had another amazing dream tonight. My higher self came, gave me all this guidance. And again, I had amazing dreams and I'm so grateful. So intention, I think, is number one in any sacred practice. And I see dream work as such. And having spoken to my, a whole lot of use of mind-altering substances over the years. I haven't done that now for over a year, and it's coming and it's happening for free every night wherever I am. Can be like a full-on ceremony, particularly when working with that Kundalini energy and the cerebral spinal fluid in the way I just described. Some other things, I'll go through this quick because we're already well into this call. No media before bed, LCD screens. For some reason, looking at LCD screens seems to, some people say, block the pineal gland or shut things down. It's my recommendation, and as a practice, if you can, give yourself a couple hours before you go to sleep. Start your dream yoga practice. Not looking at your phone, not looking at a computer. And better still, no LCD lights in your house. A minimal exposure to LCD lighting. Interestingly, I'm apparently on, some people, I'll just say it, I'm on the spectrum, as they say. I think, most people who are super sensitive people have heard that they're on the spectrum of sort. We're just sensitive people. And throughout my life, I've been really, really sensitive to LCD lighting, fluorescent lighting, like the lights in this room right now. I find myself much, much more comfortable with candlelight or with lighting that's down on the floor, not above my head. So lighting in our environment also has an impact. So you may want to explore that. And in particular, give yourself a couple hours before you go to bed with no screens. It's amazing how difficult that is for so many people nowadays. But it has really paid off for me and a lot of people I've worked with. So LCD screens and being aware of lighting in your environments, and then using those 2 hours or so before you go to bed as a ritual. Like, I'm preparing for my dream yoga practice tonight. Again, and for me, I might take a bath, put some rose water in it, have some candles, sit, on the floor on a cushion, do some reading, some uplifting content, and really take care of myself, calm my mind down before I go to bed. Setting that intention and making a ritual before sleep time really, really helps. And then recording the dreams. I like to keep a voice recorder. Some people will wake up and they'll turn on an LCD light, an LED light, and write down their dreams. For me, that takes me out of the space. I much prefer to have a little voice recorder that just has a record button on it. So I wake up, and here's another key piece, which is to wake up before you get up. There's something about that where before you actually get up in the morning, you wake up. And for a lot of people, we naturally wake up, maybe 5 or 6 or so. You have to go to the restroom, or you just naturally wake up. something about that waking up before you get up. This has been, taught in, many dream yoga traditions or, teachers, teachings is something about that waking up before you get up. It's like it sets the brain somehow so that you're ready to actually receive the dreams and remember them when you actually get up. So ideally, somehow, and you can do this by intention, set the intention, I'm going to wake up an hour and a half or so before I get up. And if you can work out your schedule that way, it really, really helps in opening up, clear dream recall. I'm not talking like just one dream. It can be 3, 5, 8. My record so far is 13 totally separate movies in one night. Really, really clear. And this wake up before you get up practice really helps. So when you wake up, freeze. That's what my teacher always used to tell me. Don't do anything, just freeze. You're on the bed, you've woken up, freeze, and then set the intention. I'm going back in to record my dreams. So you're going into that hypnagogic state, the state in between waking and dreaming. And you're doing it with the conscious intention. And when you actually wake up the second time, you have a far greater likelihood of actually remembering the dream. Another thing that I found has been really helpful. It's like again, for me, it's this is a practice by which we cultivate a relationship with whatever we call that, our soul, the divine, the beloved, treating it as if it is a relationship, like you would a human being. This is like a potential partner. What would you do with a new person coming into your life? You treat it with respect, with gratitude, and you let them know that you're listening and that you care. So for me, taking action based upon the guidance that's come through in the dreams is a part of that. It's a way of saying, look, I'm listening. Thank you. I had this dream last night of me drinking a can of Coke. It can be that clear, that simple. I'm going to stop drinking Coke. For some reason, this dream is showing me to stop that behavior or to do something. So something to actually honor what's come through in the dreams has helped me in reinforcing that relationship. I mean, who knows? Maybe I'm making it all up. Maybe something else is making it all up. It has been my experience. When we take action based upon the dreams, they keep on coming with greater consistency and clarity. Something about the throat before you go to bed. And again, I'm thinking like Flo, for example, people who might be working with with cannabis or they're taking prescribed medication or they're doing some other things that might for many people shut down the dream recall. Something about the throat in the Dzogchen traditions and also the Native American traditions, which are the two primary lineages that I've been taught in. They invite awareness in the throat chakra as you're going to sleep. They say that the dreams come in through the back of the neck. And in the Dzogchen tradition, they recommend visualizing the letter A on the throat as you're drifting to sleep. Something about that. And if any of you guys know why, I don't know why. It's just I've been told that by a Lakota chief that I worked with, and then also found that in the Dzogchen teachings. They visualize the Tibetan symbol A on the throat. And I don't tell people what color it should be, but for me, a specific color has come through. That's also been the experience with other people I've worked with. It doesn't have to be the Tibetan symbol A. You can use the English capital A to visualize on the throat as you're taking your breath and going into the dream state with the intention. Something about that, focusing on the throat chakra, helps and opens up one's capacity to connect with the dreams and start navigating more and more with lucidity in these altered states of consciousness. What else? Dream enhancers, pills, potions, and plants. I found that vitamin B12 for me, every time I take B12, it absolutely deepens the depth of my connection with my dreams. For some people, I've read B6. I use B12. Occasionally, melatonin. Melatonin has been just absolutely off the charts. And then I've also found that if I take melatonin too much for too many nights, it throws off my sleep cycle, and I need to take a break. There's a website called thedreamjoint.com. It's a place that sells dream enhancement herbs like blue lotus, mugwort, like African dreaming root, some of these other dream specific plant substances. I'm working with blue lotus right now. Apparently that's been helping. My dreams are always pretty darn clear, but they've taken on a little bit of a different flavor, and it seems to be influenced by that particular plant and the spirit and vibration of that plant. Other plants, all the other master plant teachers, in the ayahuasca path would do these dietas. If you're, apprenticing to be a practitioner, you spend time in isolation, and you fast before you start really opening up to connect with these plants. And I found that fasting, like more than anything else, fasting opens up the dreams. It's amazing. All of these isolation diets that I've done over the years, I've done 16 so far. Spending time in isolation, usually between 10 days or 30 days, eating very, very bland food, non-stimulating food, so no spice, no grease, really, really pure food, following a traditional ayahuasca diet. And then, when we're on these isolation diets, you drink ayahuasca the first time to open the diet, and then you usually go and you fast for 3 or 4 days at least, sometimes 7 to 10 days of a water fast. Something about the fasting totally opens things up. If you can go 3 days with no food, water only, I have a feeling, even whether you're smoking or not, it totally opens things up. It kind of makes sense. You read these stories in the Bible of these people who have gone away and fasted and prayed and received visions. Well, it's been my experience that there's a correlation between fasting and clear visions in the dream state and in the waking dream. I've often have visions, I won't say often, but maybe a few times a month. I'll have a spontaneous vision while my eyes are open, totally like a dream, but I'm awake. And I'll have a full-on vision when I'm just sitting reading a book or something. So you don't necessarily have to be asleep to have these dreams. And something about fasting helps. The chief that I work with told me the same thing. This is part of the vision quest experience, is fasting and purification before the visions start opening up. You start receiving the guidance from wherever you're receiving guidance. Nice. Background music. Thank you, Flo. All right. What else? So dreaming with plants is a whole thing. I think I'm going to start doing. My teacher leads these plant diets, similarly with groups of people, um, opening people up to connect with specific plant teachers in their dreams. This is traditionally done in the ayahuasca, Shipibo lineage, with a shaman opening up, in ceremony, the spirit of a certain plant that you want to work with. I was thinking that I did a whole bunch of those with my teacher for the first 7 years or so. And then I found out I could open my own diets without his help. I could connect with these plants directly. I actually didn't need a shaman to do it for me. I could fast and start drinking these plants and learn from the rose, without anyone else having to do anything for me or with me. And then later I found out I didn't need ayahuasca either. I could fast and do all the things and commune with the rose and receive really, really clear teachings from that plant, with no other medicine required. And fasting absolutely helps. And non-stimulation in general really helps. So I think you guys know what I mean. Of course, no sexual energy, thinking about that, not allowing yourself to be stimulated by spicy foods, um, movies that are, violent or, have, excite you, just taking care of your mental state and literally the foods that we eat, and what we consume in our mind really affects our energetic state. So keeping the energetic state as calm as it can be, really, really helps. Again, all these things that I'm sharing are different things you can try, may work for you. It has been my experience that these things help. And over time, I found that a lot of the things I was told that I had to do to connect with certain plants and have certain experiences, it turned out not to be true. I could access that state another way. For example, as we talked about, you don't even have to be dreaming to access these states. So let's see, what else did I have for us to talk about? Shadow work. So much of what this work does when the dreams start coming through, and I have a sense, the four of you are beyond this, so I'm not going to really dwell on this. But at first, and it may well be that one or more of you may choose to teach this practice, share it with other people, incorporate it into your offerings. Probably a third of the people that I'm working with right now are coaches or facilitators in one capacity or another, and they're learning this practice so that they can include it as a tool to incorporate into their offerings and to share with others. So having said that, this dreamwork practice opens up a way for us to see what's really going on with the people we're working with. As often would happen in ayahuasca ceremonies, I meet people, they'd show up for the retreat. They seem like totally happy people, really balanced. We have a wonderful conversation. I ask how you're doing. I'm doing fine. They might talk about something they bought or something that they're happy about and why they're doing fine. And then we go into ceremony that night and they have a really rough ride because there's stuff going on that's been trapped underneath the subconscious layer that hasn't yet been seen, felt, and integrated. So much of this work, whether as personal practice or in sharing with others, it helps us see what's really, really going on in the other 90% of our mind, that part that's actually creating our reality, in a way that the waking mind can't access. So what the first part of this practice, when you look at these different kinds of dreams, I think I put a bunch down here. Probably 90% of the dreams for most people and in general, they are what I call symbolic dreams or metaphorical dreams. That beloved, our soul, higher self, whatever we call that, communicating to us, showing us what's going on, using symbols and imagery to help us connect with patterns of thought and feelings that are there, that are keeping us from a more harmonious, joyful, more magical, instant manifestation kind of life. So the first, almost everyone I've worked with, at first, the dreams are illuminating those shadows. It'll really quickly show us, just like with ayahuasca, it'll show us a memory, or we'll have an experience in a dream that has a feeling like I'm being chased by something, or I'm going to die, or I'm going to fight this thing or the other. It's almost always showing us what we're either running away from or desires that we have that aren't aligned with our soul's desires. And there's something about, I'm thinking of a teacher that I really love, Adyashanti, describes enlightenment as normalcy in everyday life, without aversion and without desire. Being right where you are right now in the moment, fully present and happy. So this is a big part of what happens at first. For some people, for me, it was probably 6 years of that kind of dream, these metaphorical teachings, showing me what's going on in my subconscious, so that I could take action based upon what that information was, so that I can come into greater coherence, greater integrity, and then having done that, then the Kundalini energy moves up, and as it moves up into the heart, and the heart opens, the heart being the gateway to the higher states of consciousness. Once the heart really opens, then that energy can find its way to the higher centers. And very often before that happens, we have to deal with the stuff that's happening that doesn't feel so good. And that very often comes by way of a reframe, which means we're able to look at the same experience that happened in the past, and it feels different. We're able to see it in a different way. Like, for example, a family member abused me, right? And I held that. I was so angry about that for so many years. I literally hated that person for a lot of years. Hated that that happened. For me, I even hated an experience. I hated the fact that I was in this boat accident and I broke my neck and my arm, and I had 11 years of severe pain. I was angry that that happened. It wasn't even a person, but I was angry, and more than that, felt victimized that that happened. And while I was living for all that time still in this state of victimization, that energy kept coming back into my life over and over in my waking dream. Showing me that the world is inside out. One way of seeing things. Well, what's happening on the inside is reflected on the outside. If we're living the life as a victim, then we continue to perpetuate experience, people, and circumstances into our life that reflect that energy. And it'll keep on happening over and over and over again until we shift the patterns of feelings, thought, and shadow work is a huge part of the process. And a lot of what happens on the one-on-one sessions and the deeper work that we'll be doing in the group dreaming program coming up in probably a couple weeks. Another huge thing that that has come up in my dreams and dreams with so many people is this balance of the masculine and feminine. And interestingly, kirtan, a lot of these mantras, that's what they're doing. Singing Sita Ram, right? The Sita, the feminine, Ram being the masculine, saying that over and over again. Even if you don't know what it means, something about that, literally the phonetics, the sound, those frequencies help us harmonize and balance the masculine and the feminine. So very often what happens with this work as that flashlight comes on and shows us what's going on is it'll show us something about our relationship with the masculine that we're not seeing, maybe isn't healed or true or in harmony. And we're being invited to look at that experience of my father leaving when I was 6. How can I see that in a different way with compassion? And forgiveness is just absolutely off the charts, transformational, coming to what I more often describe as acceptance and understanding instead of forgiveness. Forgiveness for so many of us has this feeling like I'm more spiritual than you are, and I've attained this certain state of consciousness and being, and since you're not where I am, I'm gonna forgive you. And it has this it's kind of an ego trip, you know. So I in my own experience, rather than forgiveness, it's the reframe a lot is where I'm looking at the same experience that happened, and now I see it with understanding. I see that my father was abused. He had an alcoholic father who beat him, and his father's father was abusive. And then we see these patterns of energy go multi-generationally, and hurt people is one way of saying it. Another way I like to look at it is that happy people make people happy, healed people heal people. It's but this on the on the transformational aspect, it's coming to understand that without receiving guidance or help or connecting with a practice like dream work, people are the product of their experience in life. And if they were treated a certain way in the past, even if it was really hurtful for them by their parents, we often become our parents or our abusers or former partners, or in fact, as we open up more and more to the dream, we come to see that actually we are them. And this is a huge part of the work. And going through the dreams, after we have the dreams, we have the characters that show up in the dreams, and in Jungian or Gestalt dream work, and many other shamanic traditions, and including Dzogchen, we're invited to consider the apparent other, the character that's showing up, is actually not them. It's an aspect of ourself, inviting our attention, something about that, the feeling of that character, the connection that that character has to our own being and our own life is meaningful. And it usually is not about them at all. Sometimes it is. Sometimes I had a dream a couple of weeks ago. It was more than that, 4 weeks ago. Super clear dream of was my former wife's husband punched me in the chest really hard in the dream. And as I'm falling down and I'm falling backward in the dream, like really palpably feeling it in the dream, like I felt it. Oftentimes in the dreams now, what happens is literally a physical sensation. I feel raindrops. I literally hear things. I can feel the wind on my face. When the senses open up in the dream work, it's really hard to distinguish between the waking dream and the non-waking dream. And we come to see over time, they're actually the same. And they work the same way, except we believe that this reality, this waking dream, is more real. But it just happens in a different way, in a different dimension that we're in this reality more connected to. But they work just the same way. So coming back to this dream, this man who I love, I'm so happy that this man married my ex-wife. He's a good guy, and he's been a wonderful man to my daughters, and we've always have what I felt was a wonderful relationship. And then all of a sudden, out of the blue, he punches me in the chest, and as I'm falling over backwards, I have this feeling. I wasn't angry at all. But I had this feeling, oh my gosh, he believes something that's not true. Like, it was this compassion, like he just hit me, but someone told him something that's not true. So he's feeling like he needs to hit me for some reason. So this is an example in which the person that showed up in the dream, it wasn't necessarily, I guess from a broader point of view, everyone is us as God, as an expression of God. And in this case, it was actually literally showing me what was going on with this man that's still living with my daughters, and something that he did and said, which the next morning when I called my wife, and I still sometimes call her my wife, my ex-wife, I call her to talk about it. She described a circumstance that totally made sense. And we were able to talk it all through and clarify that misunderstanding. So this is one of the things that I just absolutely love about this mystical life, or the shamanic dreaming, being deeply connected to the dreams, is people may lie to you. They may be doing things behind your back that are not in integrity or helpful, and very often it comes through in the dreams. I am the wrong person to lie to, because it's going to come. Say yes, it's going to come through in the dreams. And again, when that comes through, there's, for me, in my experience, I don't get angry. I don't even know when the last time I got angry about anything. It just really doesn't make any sense for me. But there's an understanding. I understand what happened. One way of forgiving, and I'm so grateful that this dream showed me what was going on, so I could make a call and protect my daughter from further harm. I feel like I have just talked a whole lot. You guys, anyone have any questions or want to point me into a specific direction before I keep going? Okay, cool. Let me see here. Let's talk about lucid living. And I guess first, before, see if I can do this here. Before I do that, all of you guys are pretty darn far along in your own practice. So this may be pretty elementary, but let's just see here. There's something I wanted to share here. Can you guys see that on the screen? Yeah. Is that a yes? All right, cool. So this is, anyone heard of Dr. David Hawkins? No, he's this man, holy cow. just absolutely amazing what's come through for him, largely received in dreams, interestingly enough, in his whole body of work and teachings. He uses this map of consciousness, which in one way of looking at it, we can look at it as frequencies, starting down here at 20 and moving all the way up to, a 1,000, which is total enlightenment. And it describes, feeling states, a description of that feeling, and an associated frequency. It's these feelings: shame, guilt, apathy, grief, fear, desire. Interestingly enough, it's this egoic desire, what I call selfish desire, but in a way that's not healthy, that is one of the greatest impediments to living a dream-like life. It's both the aversion and desire that stand in the way of this of moving into and living more in higher frequencies and higher states of magic. And the gateway, I would, for me, as I mentioned before, it's the heart. As you start experiencing less and less of these patterns of these lower states of energy and experience, you're living more connected with love. You open up more and more, and you're living more in these higher frequencies. And interestingly, all three of you guys are, from my experience, my perception is you're living already most of the time in this, love and above frequency. You're already there. And, as we live in that state, let's see if this is going to stop sharing. There we go. Living in this love and above frequency, we start more and more having these amazing dreamlike experiences. And I'm going to share with y'all an example, probably take about maybe 10 minutes. But it's not but, cancel but. It's an example of many examples in my life of what I call lucid living, and it also incorporates a few different kinds of dreams, and in particular, it shows how this place that Amanda and I both spent time on in Costa Rica came into being in my phenomenal reality. So I have a feeling, Amanda, you might get a kick out of this. So let's see. I guess it was in 2019, and again, I'm sharing this to inspire you and also to help you see, how important it is to differentiate between the different kinds of dreams. And also and by inspiration, to show you that if I can do this, we can all do this. This is all our experience, and I imagine the four of you have had similar experiences. And so with that, here it goes. In 2019, this is after already over 10 years of working with my dreams deeply for that period of time. I kept seeing over and over in my dreams, I kept seeing hospitals, and I kept seeing dark clouds over San Francisco, and I had, like, it zoomed out to the whole planet, and I saw these dark clouds, and then there would be streets with ambulances in these major metropolitan centers throughout the world. Like the big cities around the planet, for some reason, there were these big clouds and there were ambulances all over the place. Something about hospitals and big cities just kept coming up over and over and over. And it didn't make any sense to me. But it looked really bad in San Francisco, where I was living at the time. And it just kept coming up over and over and over. I literally gave away almost all of my material possessions, including this awesome Sprinter van that I had. I sold that for a bit to a friend that actually ended up living in it for 3 years, and decided to leave the city because I didn't know what was happening. I just learned to follow my dreams, and it was super, super clear. The feeling that I had is something's going down, and to be safe, I'm just going to leave the Bay Area and head to Mexico, head to the jungle. So I did that. I ended up joining an ayahuasca retreat that happened to be starting right about the time that I was going to go there. In 2 weeks, I did 11 ceremonies, went deep, deep in and through a process of purification through that work. And by the 11th ceremony, I was feeling really, really clear, and really pure in a very, very high vibration state. And I had this thought in the final ceremony. And in fact, I saw myself sitting around a campfire with this lady. I don't even know who she was, but we were singing next to a campfire, singing this mantra, singing kirtan, one of my favorite things to do. And then the next morning after that ceremony, I thought, wow, I really miss kirtan. It'd be awesome if the next stage in my journey, I went somewhere, I met someone that had a harmonium or that could lead kirtan, and I could chant with them. We could sing like we do in kirtan. Every time I do that, it just opens up my heart. It just feels so good. So that morning, I just had that feeling. It was just momentary, and I'm just curious, thinking, how can it get any better than this? And then I looked on Facebook. I'd been doing all the ceremony work. I've been on the computer for over 3 weeks at that time. I look on Facebook and I see a message from, or an advertisement from one of my favorite kirtan teachers, Gina Salah, advertising she's having a retreat, a kirtan retreat. And lo and behold, it happens to be about 150 yards from the retreat center I was at in that moment. Like totally in the jungle. This place called Yalapa in Mexico, there's no roads to get there. You have to take a boat. I had no idea Gina had ever been there, and yet she was leading a retreat, like literally 100 yards from the retreat. Like I just walked down the road, and that's where this retreat was being held. And this kind of stuff keeps happening all the time. This is this lucid living, that David was talking about. We've all, I'm sure, experienced to some extent. So so it was obvious for me. What, and again, curious, did I actually create that? Like, would that retreat have happened had I not the night before felt it and like desired it, or touched upon it while in a super high vibration state? I mean, who knows? But this keeps happening over and over and over. I'm going with it. Just literally following my dreams and living this lucid living practice. So I enroll in the retreat. The next day, I check out of the retreat center. I was already going to leave that day. I walk down the road into this amazing retreat center overlooking the ocean where Gina's having a retreat. And for 2 weeks, I joined her and a group of other people chanting mantras and learning from her and doing all this stuff to raise the vibe even higher. In particular, learn the Gayatri mantra, which is something that I do most days now, chanting this sacred mantra. Something about the frequencies of that mantra, I don't even know. I mean, there's so much I don't know. I know it works. Chanting that mantra, as Gina says, it's like windshield wipers for the mind. and the energy body. It has a way of really, really elevating the energy. So we had 2 weeks of absolutely amazing connection there during that retreat. And we were coming up to the end of that 2-week period of time. And I asked myself, how can I get any better than this? Where am I going next? I had thought that I was going to go to Guatemala, back to this place where I had spent a lot of time before. I spent 3 months at this monastery practicing Qigong, and all this magic happened a couple of years before that. I thought I was going to go there next. And instead I had this dream that and in the dream, this is a what I call a direct dream or direct guidance dream. In this dream, I was at an airport, and I bought a plane ticket, and it said my name on it, Jeffrey Miller, which is my legal name. Lucas is the name that I used to call my higher self, that my soul that would communicate to me in my dreams. And I've just, over the years, connected with that part of myself so deeply that in 2012, all this stuff happened, and it just made sense to start going by that, because I was living as much or more so from the awareness of my higher self than what I believed myself to be before. So either name works. So in that dream, it said my name on it. It said March 16th, Costa Rica. And I hadn't planned on going to Costa Rica at all, but I had that dream. So I bought the ticket. I ended up flying to Costa Rica. I arrived March 16th, and my friend Tony met me in the airport. He and I were both going to go to Peru to do this special dieta with this tree, this they call the flying tree of light, Noya Rao, later in the year. He meets me at the airport, and when I get to the car, he says, Lucas, do you realize what happened? And I said, no. He says, you were on one of the last planes in. I said, well, what do you mean? And he says, they just shut down the airport because of COVID. You can't fly in or out of Costa Rica anymore. So I can't fly to Peru. Do you want to rent a house together? So we ended up renting this amazing house in Uvita, and I had all this amazing experience there. And then in my dreams, I had a dream of what I call the spirit, connecting with the spirit of the rose. The rose came to me in a dream, and came in super, super strong. And the thought that I had was time to go and do some fasting and do another diet with the rose. And then I wondered, where will I do that? To do that with Tony in this house and the music and people around doesn't feel so good. So asked my dreams to show me where I should go to do this rose isolation diet. And that night I had a dream of 2 rings. This one here that I have on my finger, and another one just like it, right next to my foot on the ground in the dream. And I was really curious when I saw that. Again, the intention was, where am I supposed to go next in my waking dream? That night I have a dream of the ring that I have and another one that looks right just like it on my feet, next to my foot. So I'm processing that. In the morning, I went to breakfast at this restaurant in Uvita, and I'm thinking about 2 turquoise rings. I wonder what the significance of 2 turquoise rings is. And as I'm having that thought sitting at the table, I realized that I'm looking at a billboard, an advertisement in front of me, and there's 2 turquoise rings on the sign intersecting each other. like totally different than what I had imagined, as often happens, right? We may have these connections and these visualizations, and they manifest in phenomenal reality in a way that's totally different than what we may have been thinking. So I'm sitting there thinking, oh my gosh, those are the two turquoise rings. It came to me in my dream. Something about that. Is that the place that I'm supposed to go to next? What about that restaurant, which is what the advertisement was for? What about that restaurant is significant with respect to where I'm supposed to go next? Right as I'm having that thought, my phone buzzes or vibrates, and I got a message from a friend of mine, Daryl, who was living in Florida at the time. And it was him sending me a message for a retreat center in Costa Rica that has this tree house over a river that he thought might be perfect for me to do my isolation retreat. This time in isolation, all by myself, no stimulation, drinking the tea of a rose every night and learning from the rose in my dream for 30 days. So I thought, wow, this is interesting because I'm having this thought, two turquoise rings. I know that was guided in my dreams. What a coincidence. Daryl just sent me this note. So I open up the advertisement on the Facebook post, and the lady who was the retreat center manager at this place called Bali Rica in Ojochal, her name was Mel. I just looked at the photo that Daryl had sent me of this advertisement. I click on the lady that's running the place that I would need to contact, and I see that she has on her hand the exact same ring that I saw in my dream. The one that I have has eagle feathers on the side of the clasp. And the other one that I saw in my dream had a whale tail on the clasp on the side. And that was the ring that Mel was wearing and that she still has to this day. So to me, that was obvious. Okay, that's it. That's where I'm supposed to go. So I went down to this place, talked with her, let her know about the dream, and said, I'm here. This place actually doesn't look all that comfortable. No windows, total tree house in the jungle. And yet something about this place, I'm supposed to be here. So I'm gonna move in for at least a month. So again, all of these dreams, some of these dreams, the first one say that buying a ticket, that's not a metaphorical dream, right? When I first saw myself buying a plane ticket with my name on it, it said Costa Rica. Well, I could have and of course the first thing I do in my own practice and in working with others is we look at the dream. The first thing to do is determine what kind of dream is this? Is this an interaction in the spirit world, in the astral plane, with an actual spirit or being that's on another plane of consciousness? Is this metaphorical teaching in a language of symbols from my higher self? Is this like direct guidance? Like I don't have to figure it out, just do what it says to do in the dream. That's what this one was that showed me that I had bought this ticket. There wasn't anything to figure it out. It was just buy the ticket, trust the dream, go buy the ticket. And that's what I did. And all this magic opened up. And I ended up living in a amazing place during COVID for 2 years. And I'll share just a little bit more, and I'm almost done with this piece. So that happened. So I had this amazing experience communing with the rose during those 30 days. And I kept thinking about this next special diet that I was going to do in Peru with this sacred tree of light. It's literally a tree that glows in the dark. And they say it's known to be one of the most sacred of all plants to make a connection with, all the plants on this planet. There's this one tree that literally glows in the dark. And its leaves glow in the dark when they fall on the ground. And as far as I knew it, there was only two families on the whole planet that that held the lineage that would invite people to come and drink the tea from this particular sacred tree that they protected. And they were in Peru. And we had already been accepted. My friend Tony and I were going to go there in December. Here we are now, it's like May. And I had that thought while I'm on this rose diet. And as that 30 days is coming to close, I'm thinking, where do I go? Where am I going to go next? Right. So I end up going back to Uvita to stay a few nights with my friend Tony there. And the second night that I was there, I had what's called a remote viewing dream. It was the first time that had ever happened, remote viewing. And it was so real, just mind blowing. It's happened several times since, and you can do this with intention. And again, David in particular, I'm happy to talk with you about, and all of you, specific protocols to access these other kinds of dreams like astral travel and remote viewing. There's certain things you can do to make that happen and to make it happen more consistently. But this time it just happened totally spontaneously. I had the intention. I just asked before I went to bed, where am I supposed to go next? And I had this remote viewing experience where first I found myself flying over the Grand Canyon, which was odd. I've never been to the Grand Canyon in person. I hadn't even been thinking about it at all. And for some reason in this dream, I'm literally flying through the Grand Canyon, like high definition, totally clear, exactly like I was there, seeing the Grand Canyon with clarity, like I'd never seen it on TV. It was just absolutely, I was there. And it was a really exciting experience, my first remote viewing journey. And it started in the Grand Canyon. After that, I ended up going into a mall and I was tracking a lady through this mall. I don't even know who she was, but for some reason I was following this person in a mall. And then after that, I found myself flying over the coast of Costa Rica in an area that I had never been to before. It was right at the perfect elevation that I had like felt like I would want to be. Ideally, you want to be above sea level because it's cooler if you're in the mountains, a little bit elevated. Elevation makes a big difference. And I wanted to be in a really, really pure place. Yes, Lagunas, you got it, Amanda. But I had never seen Lagunas before. I hadn't even spent time in Dominical yet. I had just been in Uvita until then. And in this dream, I flew over Dominical, up the mountain, and up this, the side of the mountain, and I'm looking at this house and this land. And there's this house that has a big pool next to it. And I was thinking, wow, this would be like if price were no object and I could live anywhere. This is about as good as it gets. It's the perfect elevation. And for some reason, my dreams kept showing me I'd be living on the side of a mountain over the ocean. And here I am seeing it really clearly in a remote viewing experience. And I went there and I saw it. You guys can believe me or not, have a sense you get it. This really, really happened. I saw this place, this area, super clearly before I ever went there in real life. So the next night, I asked my dreams for more clarity on where this place is, where I'm supposed to go. And that night, I found myself, like, first I felt this area, this play, it felt like it, and then all of a sudden it opened up and I could see it. But it wasn't a remote viewing, it was a little bit more vague. It was more like a dream state. And then I realized I was dreaming and I woke up in the dream while this was all happening. And something, there's a whole lot to lucid dreaming, but for the first many times that started to happen, I'd be so excited when I woke up in the dream and I knew I was dreaming it was happening. And this also happened in ayahuasca ceremonies. I'd be super, super excited, and then I'd lose it and I'd wake up and it would be over, right? So part of this practice is learning to stay calm. Like, yes, I've woken up in the dream. I know how to do this. It's totally okay. I'm here and I'm navigating within the lucid dream. So I had that experience seeing this house with a big pool overlooking the ocean with a whole lot of land right next to it. Except the problem was it was all at an angle in the dream. There was this house, like kind of a Tico house, but kind of a nice one, and the pool, but the land all around it was at an angle, and everything felt like off. The energy of the land just felt like you were like living on the side of a hill, and there weren't any banana trees. And I saw all of that, and since I've been doing so much lucid dreaming, I realized I know that I can change it. So what I did in the lucid dream is I flattened it all out. The slope that went up to the side of the house and the pool, I flattened it out to make make a whole lot of flat area around the pool, so it didn't feel so off. And then I consciously I planted some banana trees around the left side of the house. And I saw it all and really felt it deeply in the lucid dream. And I allowed myself to sit there with it and feel it, knowing that I had done this already a few times before, literally created something in a lucid dream that later showed up in my waking dream and manifested reality. So that happened. I had this amazing lucid dream. I remember telling Tony about it the next day. I said, there's this place. I don't know where it is, but there's this place. That's where I'm going next. And it's going to be interesting to see how it shows up. So it ended up being about 2 weeks later that Tony and his partner come back to the house. And they told me they met this couple at this waterfall. And they had invited all of us to their property. So so he said, do you want to come with me? I said, yeah, sure. So we ended up taking a ride to meet this couple, whoever they were. And Tony drove, and we ended up going up this road. And we're going on this dirt road up the side of the mountain. As we're going up and up and up, I could feel it. Like, oh my gosh, I think this is going to happen again. This really feels like what I saw in my remote viewing and my lucid dream. I think we're going there. And he ends up taking a left off the side of the road and going down the hill to this land. And he stops the truck, and we get out, and it was it. It was literally the place that I had not only seen, but I had co-created in my lucid dream. That was my experience. I mean, who knows? My experience was I changed that property before we went there in my lucid dream. And the banana trees were there. It was flat in the place that I made it flat. And the other thought that I had when I was in that lucid dream was that there would be a few houses around the same property, because the idea that I have was I would be living next to people that I love, doing work that I feel called to be doing in my life. And it turned out there were 2 other houses on that same property. It's kind of private piece of land, as you know, Amanda. And
I don't mean to cut you off. I'd really love to hear the rest of the story. I know the story. to some degree, but I have to go. I have an obligation, but thank you for this space, and I'll listen to the recording so I can hear the rest of it.
Okay, awesome.
All
Thanks,
right.
Amanda. Thanks for
Thank you so
joining.
much.
Okay, bye for
Bye.
now. So there you go. That was a long story. There's so much more to it, but this is an experience that I had of lucid living. I'm curious, David, are you still with us? I see you're muted. I don't see your face. Are you gone?
Hey, I'm here. I'm still here.
Cool. I'm curious if, as you mentioned, this kind of lucid living experience or instant manifestation, how has that happened for you in the past? And what has helped you in having that experience?
I don't even know. I can't think of any examples really to give. I heard a story about a mage that people would go to for like enlightening understanding of how everything starts in the spirit realm and then comes into this dream realm. But they would separate it the way they understood it. Now I'm understanding it's all the same thing. But it
Mm,
would be able to make this something, and that would be one demonstration the mage would give was to make something literally appear uh, from thin air, and then it would establish credibility with whoever he was being hired by to for God's self to have that experience with them, to basically say, hey, we're going to take you to some magical being and you're going to get to see how magical this life is and more of who and what you are. And anyway, so hearing that story let me know that that was possible. Um, my okay, I'm giving examples now. So in the beginning, like of a day, I would ask God's self, and I would treat God's self as a mother, and ask her, for new shoes or something. And then that evening, I would literally get brand new shoes for free that were in the color of the thing that she was training me in, stuff like
mm,
that. And so it wouldn't be instant, but it would be same day, a lot of stuff same day. And then the instant stuff would be just like thinking about, and I think it was more mind reading because of the vicinity of the people I was around, but I'd be thinking about stuff I would want to eat. And then somebody would come up to me saying that they just made it, the same exact thing that I was like dreaming up in my head, I wanted to eat. But I'm thinking that's part of like the modality of human design has taught me about gates that we have and how we tap into the field around each other, and we get and like my top half of the body, the gates are open, so I become the being I'm around. Um, and so I think that I was literally just like while the guy was cooking it, absorbing what he was cooking, and then like my body was like, yeah, that would be amazing to have that. And then he showed up and he's like, I just made this. I think that's what happened there. But um, as far as your example of being in a dream, and that was beautiful to be able to like shape out the land and then go to it, and it was shaped out in even the banana trees. That was awesome. Um, and that all seems easy. Like it's just an awareness of divinity and like who and what we are. And I can talk more about that, the divinity side, but I think the theme of what you're asking is more about instant manifestation. So I'm good with that unless you have more questions. If we want to chat more.
well, thanks for sharing it. There's something in what you just said, but I thought I heard you say you in your process, your experience, you became the being. Is that right? The character that you saw in the dream, you became in your dream experience.
I'm not sure what you're speaking of right now. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I misunderstood the words. It's that it's seeing a character or something in the dream, and then
Oh, that would be it. That was a waking state, or in this awakened dream that we're in now. And
oh,
the other being was in the building with me, vicinity with me, and so I
mm,
think that I was seeing what I wanted, but I was like was mind reading. I think it was just like my mind gates are all open, so I become the beings I'm around. It's like I literally get to see and stuff. And human design was one modality that taught me like how these avatars are made and how we can do that. So, and that it's automatic. It's not actually something that we have to develop spiritually. I guess our awareness of knowing about human design, that modality would help to understand that. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Wow. Very cool. Yeah, there and what caught my attention is that while this is an awaking dream or the sleeping dream, it's this becoming the thing, you know, rather than observing the thing. There's something about feeling it and being it. It's yeah, yeah, there's and for me, you know, one of the practices where this really opened up was do you know what a Merkaba is? You know, the
yeah.
like two pyramids kind of intersected. There's, you know, something about this Merkaba that, you know, apparently is used as like a vehicle for transportation into different worlds. And I remember once, yeah, right after I had this big opening about 12 years ago, I was looking at the Merkaba, visualizing it like in a meditation, single point of concentration, looking at that Merkaba that I literally had one, a physical one that was hanging on a string and, you know, from the ceiling in front of me. And so I'm looking at it, observing it, kind of curious. And then something told me, I don't even know what it was. There was this shift where I thought, I wonder what it's like to be that Merkaba, like to like, and shifted my perspective as if I was the Merkaba looking out. And then all of a sudden I was totally transported into this whole other world and experience, and like was like a full-on ayahuasca ceremony. There's a whole lot to it I won't get into. That, you know, there's something to that, which is what, you know, caught my attention. You know, what is it, you know, when we in our experience we know that, and we actually in our experientially become that parent other, that is absolutely profound when that connection happens.
That makes sense because the imagery that we see is of a light being, one of us, you know, is a light being inside of it. You know, so to think of what if I was it, it's like that's how you would go inside of it, you know, is to become it. So
Yeah,
thank you for sharing that.
welcome. Wow, well, this went really, really long, a lot longer than I thought. You curious if you know, if you have any more questions, David, or Flo's still on? Anything I can answer for you guys? Thank you so much for your patience or for showing up. Any reflections or input, advice would be greatly appreciated.
I'm getting a flashback of the A that you were describing in the throat. Do you want to touch base on what that was again?
Yeah, well, really interestingly, Amanda wrote in the comments that the I don't know how you say it, the larynx, I think, the larynx is shaped like an A. The something in the portal in the throat. It's again, I don't even know. It's just really interesting that both, you know, this one of my teachers in the Lakota tradition, and then throughout the dream yoga literature in Dzogchen, there's this recommendation to visualize and focus on the throat and to visualize a letter A. For me, when I do it, it comes in a specific color, that I see it and feel it. Um, I don't do it. In fact, I haven't done it for years now because the dreams are just come automatically every night, anyways. Um, yeah, I'm curious if you have any thoughts on what that significance is and
The
why that.
color that you imagine it, is it like an aqua green, aqua bluish green? Yeah, okay.
I'm purposely saying no, I have my own color. It's not that color. And,
Okay.
different people I've worked with have, visualized different colors. And the guidance that I got is not to tell someone a specific color. That's a
Okay.
yes.
Okay.
Um, yeah, yeah. Apparently it helps. Who knows? Yeah, something about the vertebrae, the spine. And like Paramahansa Yogananda said, the divine lives in the spine. And this I had, when I had my neck injury, I was recommended to cut out two vertebrae in my neck, and fuse them. And I had a dream that like showed me for some reason if I cut those vertebrae out and had that surgery, even though I was in so much pain. Um, and they said that would alleviate the pain. I just had this guidance that I got is if I removed those vertebrae and did that procedure on the neck and put a plate there, composite plate, a fusion plate, it would somehow disconnect me from a part of me in other dimensions. So I never had that. I never had that surgery, and the vertebrae in my neck are still intact. Pretty trippy. And we can talk more, if you're up for it. We can talk more individually about some of this conscious manifestation, and navigating in the spirit world and astral travel. If it's probably a 20-30 minute talk, to go through that in detail. If you'd like, I'm happy to share that with you. Just let me know. We can have a talk.
Okay.
Even that, in my, I started doing a ton of work, what I call work, having experiences there, and they're like really, really interesting and exciting. The most helpful of which was receiving teachings from, for me, they were usually monks, these ascended masters, and very pure, high vibrational beings. These humans who are no longer in their body that are still available to access and teach us different things on this other plane of consciousness. All of that was very, very helpful for me. And a lot of the battles and stuff I was doing on the astral plane, a lot of what I thought was really exciting that I saw there, I'm really not interested in anymore. And so much of phenomenal reality I'm less enticed by than I was before. So, you know, something to consider. It's easy to get lost in the dream, in the phenomenon. And interestingly, in the Dzogchen tradition and others, there's what has been shared is that as one really, really advances in their practice, dream yoga, you come to a place where there's no more dreams, and one rests in what they call the clear blue light of pure awareness. All right, bro. I think Flo is muted, um, and maybe left the room. So I'm going to wrap up this call with a big thank you for showing up. Thank you for being you. Thank you for dreaming, and really happy we met. If there's anything more I can do for you in the future, feel free to reach out. Okay, signing off. Thank you again. Bye for now.